the boxing landscape, Tyson's return to the ring, and Jake Paul's rise. This chapter sets the stage for the highly anticipated exhibition match. Here, we'll dive into the backstories of both fighters, Mike Tyson's legendary status as a former world champion and his complex history with the sport, as well as Jake Paul's meteoric rise from a YouTube sensation to a controversial figure in the world of boxing. Mike Tyson, who ruled the heavyweight division during his peak, had been inactive for years after retiring in 2005. Tyson's comeback fights, like the exhibition against Roy Jones Jr. in 2020, had generated massive interest, but also led to questions about his current capabilities. Tyson's motivations for fighting again were often debated. Was he trying to reclaim glory, or was it about financial gains and staying relevant in the public eye? On the flip side, Jake Paul, initially known for his YouTube videos and online antics, had taken the boxing world by storm. After a few victories against former MMA fighters, Jake had positioned himself as a legitimate contender. While many in the boxing world dismissed him as a novelty act, Paul's relentless promotion of himself and ability to market the sport drew significant attention. His rise in boxing was controversial. Many saw it as a stunt, while others acknowledged his growing skill set in the ring. This chapter would delve into the backgrounds of both fighters, the narratives that surrounded their respective careers, and how these two figures, one a living legend, the other a polarizing influencer, came to face each other in the ring. The announcement, a spectacle, not a traditional fight. When the announcement of the Mike Tyson vs. Jake Paul exhibition match came in late 2024, it set the internet ablaze. The matchup between Tyson, who had not fought professionally for years, and Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned boxer with only a handful of legitimate opponents under his belt, seemed like an odd spectacle. This chapter would cover the build-up to the announcement. Fans and critics alike were in disbelief, wondering if this was a legitimate fight or just a publicity stunt. The media frenzy surrounding the fight reached new heights, with headlines questioning Tyson's motivations and whether this was truly a fight worth watching. The decision to hold it as an exhibition match, meaning no official winner would be declared, and no titles on the line, added to the sense that this fight was more about spectacle than actual competition. We would also explore the opinions of prominent figures in boxing and entertainment as they weighed in on the matchup. Some dismissed it outright as an embarrassment to Tyson's legacy, while others saw it as an opportunity for Tyson to step back into the spotlight in a low-risk, high-reward scenario. Jake Paul, for his part, was eager to make the most of this fight, positioning it as a stepping stone in his boxing career and a chance to silence critics. Training camps and preparations, Tyson's discipline vs. Paul's confidence. In this chapter, we examine the training camps of both fighters. Tyson, despite being in his late 50s, began a rigorous training regimen ahead of the exhibition match, working with trainers and focusing on regaining the conditioning he once had. His camp was filled with anticipation and tension, as fans and analysts alike debated how much Tyson had left in the tank. This chapter would explore Tyson's mindset. Was he training for the competition, or was he simply going through the motions? Tyson had often been criticized for his lack of preparation in previous years, and this fight raised the question of whether he would take it seriously. Jake Paul, on the other hand, entered the training camp with youthful energy and confidence. With his recent victories and growing reputation in the boxing world, he had something to prove. This chapter would dive into Paul's training approach, which was much more modern and tailored to his growing boxing skills. While many criticized Paul for not fighting legitimate professional boxers early in his career, there was no denying his commitment to improving his technique. This chapter would also explore the behind-the-scenes dynamics of each fighter's team, the mental preparation, and the motivations driving both Tyson and Paul as they readied themselves for the event. The contrast between Tyson's years of experience and Paul's relative inexperience in the ring set the stage for what many thought would be a battle between youth and experience. The weigh-in and press conference, the build-up and the drama. In the days leading up to the fight, tensions continued to rise. The press conferences were filled with Spectacle Tyson, known for his unpredictable behavior, and Jake Paul, with his cocky bravado, exchanging barbs in front of the media. The weigh-in became a media circus, with both fighters looking to make an impression. Tyson, who had often been intimidating in his prime, displayed moments of his old fiery persona, while Jake Paul leaned heavily into his role as the confident underdog. The media narratives intensified as both fighters made statements about their intentions, setting the stage for the fight. Tyson's comments about being ready for war, and Paul's repeated assertions that he was the future of boxing fueled the fire. Fans were split. Some believed Tyson was still a force to be reckoned with, while others questioned whether his legacy would be tarnished by this match. Paul, meanwhile, was eager to prove that he could hold his own against one of the sport's greats. The lead-up to the event was filled with intrigue, drama, and controversy. Was this just a fight for the sake of spectacle, or would it be a legitimate test of Tyson's skills against the next generation of fighters? This chapter would capture all the media hype, drama, and final moments before the fight. The fight itself, Tyson vs. Paul in the ring. This chapter will focus on the fight itself, the tension, the action, and the unexpected turns in the match. As the bell rang for round one, many fans were on the edge of their seats. Tyson, once the most feared fighter in the world, was now facing an untested but confident Jake Paul. The early moments of the match would be crucial in setting the tone, with Tyson looking to prove that he still had it, and Jake Paul attempting to back up his brash confidence with real skill. As the fight unfolded, it became clear that Tyson, despite his years of experience, was struggling to keep up with the faster, more agile Jake Paul. The younger fighter showed impressive boxing fundamentals, while Tyson, though still strong, lacked the stamina and speed he once had. Round by round, Paul's movement and sharper technique seemed to give him the edge. As the fight progressed into the later rounds, Tyson appeared fatigued, and Paul's conditioning seemed to carry him through. Despite some powerful moments from Tyson, Paul's consistency won the favor of the judges. The fight would be scored as a unanimous decision in favor of Jake Paul, a result that sent shockwaves through the boxing world. The aftermath, Tyson's reaction, and Paul's victory. The immediate aftermath of the fight was filled with mixed emotions. Tyson, who had hoped to redeem himself in front of his fans, appeared disappointed but gracious. Many fans were quick to criticize Tyson for his lack of performance, calling the result damaging to his legacy. Tyson, for his part, downplayed the loss, emphasizing that the fight was an exhibition and that he had nothing to prove. Jake Paul, on the other hand, was jubilant, but his victory was met with a mix of celebration and skepticism. While Paul had won, many still questioned the legitimacy of the match. Critics argued that Tyson's age and time away from the sport played a huge role in the outcome, while others dismissed the match entirely as a spectacle meant for entertainment rather than a true test of boxing skill. In the weeks following the fight, discussions about Tyson's legacy intensified. Was the loss to Jake Paul a tarnish on an otherwise incredible career, or did it represent the natural end of Tyson's time in the spotlight? Meanwhile, Paul continued to promote himself as a serious boxer, but the question remained, would he ever face a legitimate threat in the ring? Legacy and impact, the fight's place in boxing history. The final chapter would reflect on the broader implications of this fight. Mike Tyson's career was already filled with controversy, and this fight added another layer to his complicated legacy. For some, the loss to Jake Paul represented a sad end to a legendary career. For others, it was just an exhibition, a spectacle that should be viewed as entertainment rather than a legitimate sporting contest. Jake Paul's rise in boxing would continue, but questions about his legitimacy as a boxer would follow him. The fight with Tyson, while a victory, didn't necessarily silence all critics. Some would argue that Paul still had much to prove. This chapter would look back at the public reaction, the impact on both Tyson and Paul's careers, and how this event fit into the larger narrative of boxing's evolution in the 21st century. The fight, while controversial, was another example of how the sport was evolving, with new figures like Jake Paul becoming integral to its future. Tyson's legacy, while forever marked by his accomplishments, would now have a different, more complex chapter to contend with.